There was no sign in front, nothing that made the harbor any different from the other houses on the quiet tree-lined street. I walked in back with Mimi, wondering if the neighbors told their dinner guests they lived next door to a girls' home, or did they confuse it in that generous, well-intentioned way and call it a shelter, correctional facility, rehab? Did they say things like, they're very nice girls for being where they are? Did they donate their clothing and their scratched-up wooden side tables? A paper turkey ornament with moving limbs was taped to the door, which was answered by a fat woman in a black macrame sweater. She extended her hand and introduced herself, and then brought us into the kitchen, where another woman sat. The other woman was tan, with hair down to her butt and a foreign accent. A nervous excitement filled me, similar to what I'd felt on the first day of summer camp. But summer camp belonged to a different world, and looking down at the kitchen table littered with popsicle sticks and glitter, I was well aware that this place was not of that world. I remembered the class field trip we had taken to the Cook County prison, when we walked around the cells looking at the prisoners as if we were at the zoo. How my visitor's pass had burned into my skin. How back in class we sat at our desks and talked about those prisoners. Fat Macrame smiled in a way that reminded me of the soccer moms who volunteered to do our routine life checks at school. I could tell that she was something like the head of that house. We made boxes today, she said, indicating the mess on the table. Like for jewelry? Asked Mimi, raising her eyebrows. Oh, for anything. The girls wanted to make Christmas gifts for their families. How cool, Mimi said, meaning it. She looked at me. Rachel teaches art. We've got lots more supplies, said Fat Macrame. Mimi and I were given forms to sign, and I sat at the kitchen table, signing without reading. I thanked her for picking me up, in that same awkward way I'd offered her money for the spinach pie on the drive over. She seemed humored by this and waved me off. I can't remember if that was it for Mimi, or if we saw each other again after that point. Fat Macrame showed me around the house. We walked through the living room, past a few girls watching TV, and up to a bedroom. The room was small, with 4 beds, 3 of which looked like traveling circuses, filled with the beady-eyed stuffed animals that boys won for their girlfriends at carnivals. On the wall, there was a poster of Bon Jovi in a bubble bath. On the dresser, there was a mess of lipsticks, spray bottles of perfume, and nail polish. Near my bed sat a silver safe. Fat Macrame went down to the hall and brought me back some sheets and a lock. Sometimes people take things, she said, which reminded me of a book that Mom had brought me when I was a kid called Sometimes I Get Angry. Alone in the room, I covered the mattress with soft worn sheets and left my journal in the safe. In the bathroom, I changed into flannel bottoms and a sweatshirt. For a long time, I sat on the toilet and tried my best to cry. But I was not sad. And anyway, I did not cry when I was sad. I cried when I felt wronged. I cried when I could no longer fight back. I cried when I hit the peak of despair that seemed to make me fade away. Downstairs, I took a seat on a footrest next to Fat Macrame. It was 10 o'clock and the girls were watching Night Court, which I'd never seen, and I couldn't help the satisfaction I got from missing Nightline. I'd walked into the middle of a conversation, which looked more like a fight, but soon I'd learned that sarcasm was the law of the land at the harbor. Everything was said with a confrontational edge, even if there was no confrontation. I got a name, said Fat Macrame to one of the girls on the floor. I know you don't know that, but I got a name. The girls were cracking up, and Fat Macrame was trying her best not to laugh. And if you want me to turn the volume off, you can ask me by my name. I know you have a name, just don't always come to me on the spot, said one girl. You know what I'm saying? What's my name? Asked Fat Macrame. What's my name then? I know your name, said the girl. Looking at the girls and gesturing to me, Fat Macrame said, does anybody care who this is? After a couple seconds, she leaned in towards me and said, I guess they're just shy. Please, we're not shy, said a big black girl, getting up to shake my hand. What's your name? Rachel. Rachel, pleased to meet you. I looked back and forth between the black girl and Fat Macrame. Now you tell her your name, said Fat Macrame. That's how you make a friend. I sat in a brown recliner while Fat Macrame went over the rules. I could use the payphone whenever I wanted, unless someone else was waiting. I could watch TV as long as the other girls in the living room agreed to the same show. I could stay up until 11. I could eat whatever and whenever I wanted. I could smoke cigarettes in the kitchen. I could not have visitors without permission. I could not have male visitors on any occasion. I could not smoke in the living room. I could not light fires. I could not do drugs. I could not run away. I was introduced to Kimmy, one of my roommates and the only other white girl. Her mouth was full of tiny rectangular teeth, and there was something about those tiny rectangular teeth and the way she repressed her smile when she looked my way that made me want to know her. Who else sleeps in this room? I asked Kimmy before the lights went off. There's an Asian girl, but she don't talk. I think she's on the phone right now. Oh, and there's another girl. That girl's in trouble. She took off last week. She's got some boyfriend she's not supposed to see. Are they looking for her, I asked? I don't know. I guess they're real pissed. She's fucked up. How? Mean. She's real mean. She's the only real mean person here, I'm telling you. Kimmy's hair was so blonde it looked white, and I watched her run her fingers up her legs before I became aware that I was watching. Then I stopped watching. Her hair fell over her tomboy knees, and I knew there was something hard inside her that would always be hard, and I wondered about the things that she'd seen in her world, and then I wondered if I was plagued by hardness too. You know, that Chinese girl don't talk, but she's nice. She's all right. She don't talk. Yeah. You got a boyfriend, she asked? Kind of, I lied. What? You don't go with him anymore? No, I do. How about you? Hell no, she said. I don't want no baby. Are you pregnant? No. What's wrong? Seems everyone but me is pregnant. I don't know. You don't know, she said? That's okay. You don't have to tell me. I lay on a mattress that was not uncomfortable, in a room that was dark except for a spot on the wall lit by a nightlight, something I hadn't seen since I was little. I thought of a trip we'd taken to the Grand Canyon when I was 10, how it was hot and crammed with people and littered with tour buses, mules, t-shirt vendors. Can you believe the laziness of these people, Dad had asked, pointing at the people on the mules? He was right. They were fat and content-looking, part of a herd. I really can't believe the laziness of these people, I said, or their whiny kids. Loud, obnoxious voices boomed from malls stuffed with hot dogs. Dad and I were repulsed. Is this what they came down to the canyon to do, I asked. Dad, as the two of us walked briskly in front of Mom, Jenny. I could tell by the way Dad talked about those people and their mules that he was very proud of me. He hated bratty kids. He hated smokers. And more than anything, he hated complaining. It was after we ate our peanut butter sandwiches and were about 3/4 of the way down to the bottom of the canyon that Mom started in with how cold it was getting and how she didn't want to be stuck in the canyon when it got dark. It was very dangerous, she wanted Dad to know, especially on such steep cliffs. And it would take us even longer on the way back up. It's just not smart, Stevie. Why are you discouraging them, Ellen? He asked, lowering his voice to a loud whisper. That's the last thing the kids need, their mother telling them they can't do it. Steve, it's not that I think they can't do it. You just don't know, Ellen. You really don't. You really don't. We've come all the way here to hike the Grand Canyon and you want to turn back? I understood Dad's frustration. There she was, an adult, discouraging us from pushing our limits, doubting Dad's ability to lead us through the canyon after dark. We walked for another half an hour. Stevie, this is getting ridiculous, Mom said. Look how dark it's getting. Is it the darkness, or are you just tired, Dad asked. Both, she said. You want to take a mule back to the top, Ellen? Or should we get an emergency airplane for you and Jenny? I mean, there's not much of an option here, and Rachel and I are going to the bottom. Dad had started to run, kicking dust into clouds, racing towards the bottom of the canyon. Then Mom began to run, chasing Dad as he ran faster, chasing the fat pink sun as it slipped into evening. I ran after Dad, my arms flailing everywhere, chasing after the respect I'd earned in not being a quitter.